There was a woman in her late 50s who began to notice something small. At first, it didn't seem important. She would forget where she placed her keys, or walk into a room and pause, trying to remember why she was there. It happened once, then again, and slowly, it became more frequent. She told herself it was normal. Everyone forgets things, but deep down, something didn't feel right, because it wasn't just memory, it was a feeling that her mind wasn't as sharp as it used to be. What she didn't realize was this: one quiet daily habit was slowly shaping how her brain worked. Memory does not usually disappear suddenly. It fades gradually in small, almost unnoticeable ways. At first, it shows up as simple forgetfulness, misplacing things, forgetting names, losing track of thoughts mid-sentence. These moments are easy to dismiss. They feel normal, common, and in many cases, they are. But what people often don't realize is that the brain is constantly adapting, just like the body. It responds to how it is used or how it is not used. When the brain is actively engaged, it builds connections. It strengthens pathways. But when it is underused, those connections begin to weaken, not dramatically, but slowly. The modern lifestyle makes this more likely than ever before. We consume more information, but we engage less with it. We scroll, we watch, we listen, but we rarely challenge the mind in meaningful ways. Over time, this creates a pattern. The brain becomes used to passive input. It stops working as actively as it once did. And gradually, things begin to feel different. Not worse in a dramatic way, just slightly slower, slightly less sharp, until one day you begin to notice it and you wonder, when did this start? The woman who noticed changes in her memory decided to do something simple, not drastic, not overwhelming, just intentional. For a while, she had quietly wondered if the small lapses meant something more. Forgetting where she placed her glasses, pausing mid-sentence while searching for a word she used to find easily. Moments that felt small, but lingered longer than they used to. Instead of ignoring them, she chose curiosity. She began paying attention to how she used her mind throughout the day, not in a scientific way, just with gentle awareness. What she discovered surprised her. Most of her time was spent consuming information, watching television, scrolling on her phone, listening without really thinking. Hours passed this way. Content flowed constantly, but very little of it required her to engage. There was almost nothing that asked her to pause, to reflect, to remember. Very little that required her mind to work. It was comfortable, easy, but it was also passive. So she made a small change. She started reading again, not just casually, but with attention. She chose books that made her curious, stories that pulled her in, ideas that made her pause and think. Sometimes she would stop in the middle of a page, reflect on a sentence, imagine the meaning behind it. Sometimes she reread a paragraph just to understand it more deeply. She also began doing small mental exercises. Nothing complicated, nothing that felt like school. Just simple activities that required focus. Remembering a short list of items, trying to recall details from the morning, solving a small puzzle, learning something new about a topic she had never explored. At first, it felt like effort. Her mind resisted. It preferred the ease of passive consumption. the quiet comfort of simply watching instead of thinking. But she continued, day after day. Some days were easier than others. Some days her focus drifted. Still, she kept going, and slowly, something changed. Her focus improved. Her thoughts became clearer, more organized. Her recall became sharper. And the small moments of forgetfulness became less frequent. What stood out most was not just the improvement, but the realization that her brain had responded. It had adapted, just like the body does. When used, it becomes stronger, and for the first time in a while, she felt hopeful again. Cognitive decline is often associated with aging. It is a topic many people quietly think about, but rarely discuss openly. Small changes in memory, moments of hesitation, a name that refuses to come to mind. These experiences can feel unsettling. But what is important to understand is that not all cognitive decline is inevitable. Some of it is influenced by how we use our minds over time. The brain is not a fixed structure. It is dynamic, responsive, always adapting. When the brain is not regularly challenged, it begins to operate differently. Connections between neurons can weaken, processing slows, and memory becomes less reliable. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but gradually. One of the most concerning aspects of this process is how subtle it can be. There is no clear moment when it begins, no alarm that signals a change, just small shifts. A slight delay in recall, a moment of hesitation in conversation, a familiar name that takes longer to surface. At first, these moments seem harmless, easy to dismiss, but over time, they can become more noticeable, more frequent, which can lead to frustration. And sometimes, concern. People begin to question themselves. They wonder if these changes are simply part of aging or something more serious. That uncertainty can feel heavy, but what is often overlooked is the role of daily habits. The brain reflects how it is used. Just as muscles weaken when they are rarely engaged, the mind can lose efficiency when it is not challenged. Many modern routines encourage passive consumption, endless streams of information, constant entertainment, content that fills time, but rarely demands effort. And when the mind spends most of its time absorbing rather than processing, it becomes less active, less engaged. But this pattern can change because the brain is remarkably adaptable. Even later in life, even after habits have been formed, when the mind is engaged, it builds strength. New connections form, old pathways become stronger, processing improves, memory stabilizes, and gradually, the mind becomes more responsive again. This is why mental activity is so important, not only for learning new things, but for maintaining the abilities we already have, for keeping the mind active, alert, curious, and capable. Supporting brain health does not require complex strategies. It does not demand expensive tools or complicated training programs. In many cases, it begins with something much simpler: consistent engagement, activities that require thought, attention, effort. Not overwhelming effort, but meaningful effort. Reading is one of the most effective ways to do this, but not just scanning words quickly. True reading asks the brain to work, to interpret ideas, to imagine scenes, to connect information. It activates multiple parts of the mind at once: memory, language, reasoning, emotion. When we read with attention, we invite the brain to participate, and participation is what strengthens it. Learning something new is another powerful tool. It could be a new subject, a new skill, a new language, or even a topic we once ignored. The brain thrives on novelty. New information forces it to adjust, to reorganize, to create new pathways. And through that process, it becomes more flexible, more resilient. But improvement does not always require big challenges. Even small daily activities can make a difference. Remembering names, recalling details from a conversation, recounting events from the day in order, engaging in meaningful discussions, asking thoughtful questions, listening carefully, and responding with intention. These are not difficult tasks, but they require the brain to work, and that work is what keeps it active. Consistency is key, just like physical movement. Mental engagement must be repeated, not once, not occasionally, but regularly. Over time, because the brain responds to patterns. Habits shape its activity. And when engagement becomes part of daily life, the mind begins to adapt. Stronger connections form, focus improves, thinking becomes clearer, and slowly, the mind regains a sense of sharpness, not through force, but through steady use. The mind is one of the most powerful parts of the body. It shapes how we experience the world, how we remember the past, how we understand the present, how we imagine the future, and like every living system, it changes with time. Some of those changes are natural, a slower pace of recall, a shift in attention. But what many people do not realize is that these changes are not entirely out of our control. The way we think, the way we engage, the habits we repeat each day, all influence how the brain functions. Memory is not simply something we possess. It is something we maintain through use, through attention, through effort. Just as physical strength fades without movement, mental sharpness can soften without engagement. But the opposite is also true. When the mind is used, it adapts. When it is challenged, it responds. The story of losing sharpness is not uncommon. Many people experience moments when their memory feels different, less reliable, less immediate. But another story exists as well. The story of improvement. The story of people who notice these changes and decide to respond. Not with fear, but with action. They begin to read again, to learn again, to ask questions, to think more deeply about the world around them, and slowly, their minds respond because the brain is capable of adapting, even later in life, even after change has begun. This adaptability is one of its most remarkable qualities. What matters most is how we respond to the changes we notice, whether we choose comfort or engagement, whether we remain passive or become curious again. Because in the end, the mind reflects the life it is given, the experiences it absorbs, the challenges it faces, the habits it repeats, and sometimes the simplest habits, reading a few pages, learning a small idea, reflecting for a moment longer, are the ones that quietly keep it strong.